Goodness prevails, overpowering passion and dullness. O Bhārata, Arjuna. Passion prevails, overpowering goodness and dullness, and even so dullness prevails, overpowering goodness and passion. Over and over again, here Sri Krishna is addressing Arjuna as Bhārata. Bhāratam Bhārata. The mode of sattva, goodness, prevails, overpowering the modes of rajas, passion, and tamas, dullness. The word bhavati is used meaning increases. The mode of sattva, goodness, increases after overpowering the modes of rajas, passion, and tamas, dullness. The word avibhuya, prevails, is used and applies to all three. The word is said only once but applies to all three modes of nature. The mode of rajas, passion, increases overpowering the modes of sattva, goodness, and tamas, dullness. Even so, the mode of tamas, dullness, increases overpowering the modes of raja, passion, and tamas, dullness. Therefore, the mode of sattva, goodness, increases after overpowering the modes of rajas, passion, and tamas, dullness. The modes of rajas, passion, increases overpowering the modes of sattva, goodness, and tamas, dullness, and the mode of tamas, dullness, increases overpowering the modes of rajas, passion, and tamas, dullness. All three of these modes of nature are in each and every person. A human being is a box in the name of the body. It is a principle of geometry, that is, that to have any closed figure you need a minimum of 3 straight lines. If you want to make any closed shape, then you need a minimum of 3 straight lines. Only then can a closed shape be formed. If you keep drawing 2 straight lines, then it will always remain an open figure, and it does not become a closed figure. The minimum closed figure is a triangle, where there are 3 lines. This is a triangle. Then you go further and create a square, rectangle, pentagon, hexagon, octagon, and as many shapes as you wish to create. But if you wish to create a closed figure with the minimum number of lines, then 3 lines are necessary. In the same way, the human being is a closed life, and there is something inside it. Why is it closed? Because something is filled inside it. 3 things are needed so that something is filled inside the human being. What are these 3 things? They are the 3 modes of sattva, goodness, rajas, passion, and tamas, dullness. These are the 3 straight lines from which the triangle of a human being is formed. None of these goes away if any one of these 3 go, then it will all fall away, which is the state that Sri Krishna is trying to take us towards, the state of gunadit, being free from the 3 modes of nature. You have to transgress to all 3 of them. But I'm saying it from the scope that we have at the moment, that all 3 of them are going to stay. God has not yet begun speaking about the state of gunadit, being free from these modes of nature, and that is why I will also not do it. All 3 of these modes will always stay in each and every person. If they are not there, then the person would fall away and nothing will remain filled inside the human being. They are in each and every person. Those who have an interest in the field of geometry, we understand it clearly that because a triangle has 3 sides, what can happen is that you determine the area of the triangle, then draw the sides. If you make one of these lines big, then the other 2 lines will automatically become smaller. The one line can only grow bigger after overpowering the other 2 lines. Only then will the area remain the same. It is possible to increase the area of a triangle by increasing the length of all 3 of its sides together. But if you wish to keep the same area, then if you make one line longer than the other 2 lines will automatically become smaller. In the same way, even in life, if one mode increases, then this means that it is overpowered, the other 2 modes. Only then does the 3rd mode increase. All 3 of the modes are going to stay and nobody can go outside the 3 modes. But than this, give a very nice example of this, which is the example of a cat. It is said about the cat that when it gives birth to its kittens, then it takes the kitten to 7 different places. The kittens have just been born and they are very delicate. How does the mother cat carry them? The mother cat carries them using its mouth and its teeth. It carries them with its teeth and takes them to another place. The mother cat carries the delicate and sensitive kitten that has just been born with its teeth and makes sure that the kitten experiences absolutely no pain or harm. If you throw a piece of bread towards the same cat, then the cat chews the piece of bread with the same teeth. The teeth are exactly the same, and when the same cat sees a mouse somewhere, then when it immediately grabs the mouse and chews and tears the mouse into pieces, then the cat uses this very same teeth. The teeth are the same at the time of carrying the kitten, at the time of chewing the bread, and at the time of killing the mouse, but the modes that are working behind the teeth are different. When the cat is taken away, the kitten then at that time, its mode of sattva, goodness, is working. When the cat is chewing the piece of bread, then at that time the mode of rajas, passion, is working. And when the cat hits and tears the mass into pieces, then at that time the mode of tamas, dullness, is working. And do not think that this is the subject of the cat. It is the subject for each and every one of us. These three things have remained in each and every human being, and each and every creature. The mode of sattva, goodness, the mode of rajas, passion, and the mode of tamas, dullness. This is not just in human beings, but in all creatures. Therefore, we have to regulate the three modes of nature, just like an equalizer works. We have to regulate them. We should keep checking which modes of nature are increasing and which modes of nature are decreasing, and we'll be able to notice which we will discuss later. What I mean to say here is that these modes of nature do not get destroyed. Either one mode of nature has increased or another mode of nature has increased. If one mode of nature has increased, then the other two modes of nature have been overpowered. How? We will take a look at very simple examples from everyday life. If the mode of sattva, goodness, predominates in a person, then this means that the modes of rajas, passion, and tamas, dullness, are there, but they have been overpowered. What happens in whom the mode of sattva, goodness, predominates is that the mode of rajas, passion, asks to be manifest, but what he does is that he plans dharmic work, arranges pilgrimages to holy places, and does things like this. What a person in whom the mode of sattva, goodness, predominates does is that he is letting the mode of rajas, passion, manifest. This is because the mode of rajas, passion demands an outlet, and it wishes to become manifest. A person of the mode of sattva, goodness, manifests his mode of rajas, passion in this way. And even with the mode of tamas, dullness, he keeps this limited to necessary sleep. If a person has the mode of rajas, passion, predominating, then this means that the modes of sattva, goodness, and tamas, dullness, have been overpowered. What such a person does is that he has the mode of sattva, goodness, inside him, and is asking to come out and wants to do some good work. But at the root he is of the mode of rajas, passion, and the mode of rajas, passion has the most influence in him. So in order to manifest his mode of sattva, goodness, he serves society. He does social work, goes and sits with ill people in the hospital, says nice things to them, gives them medicine, gives them fruit, gives them milk, goes and reads books to blind people, etc. What is this? The mode of rajas, passion is at the root because he wishes to perform some activity. But the mode of sattva, goodness, has increased a little in the mode of rajas, passion, and therefore he performs work like this. The person who just went to the shop and sat there was a person of the mode of rajas, passion, but now that the mode of sattva, goodness, began to dominate along with the mode of rajas, passion, he began to perform works like this. Now if the mode of tamas, dullness, increases in him, then he becomes a politician. Therefore the mode of rajas, passion, is dominating. He has some of the mode of sattva, goodness, in this, and a little bit of the drop of the mode of tamas, dullness has fallen into this. Therefore the person does a mixture of good and bad work. Each and every person has all three modes of nature in them. You have to know the right combination. Does a politician not serve society? A politician does so much serve to society. He keeps saying that I am serving society. A person of the mode of tamas, dullness, can also have the mode of sattva, goodness, in them. So how does such a person make use of the mode of sattva, goodness? The person is of the mode of tamas, dullness, and the mode of tamas, dullness predominates in him. If the mode of sattva, goodness, is in him, then he makes a little use of the mode of sattva, goodness by talking a lot about things such as gods, one fate, and attaining the grace of God. He does not do anything himself and just talks about them, saying things such as everything is written. When the circumstances arise, then it will happen. O clever person, get up and create the circumstance. No, he just sits there. At the root he is of the mode of tamas, dullness, but he has a bit of the mode of sattva, goodness, in him, and that is why he is talking about the gods, the future, fate, and says things such as, when we attain God's grace, then we will do it, otherwise what are we? At the root, such a person is the mode of tamas, dullness, but he has a bit of mode of sattva, goodness, in him. Such a person is like this. He makes a lot of good talk, but by doing this, he is justifying his idleness. These three modes of nature reside in each and every person. It is worth searching for which mode of nature becomes most influential and when. These modes of nature also become influential because of time. One mode of nature becomes influential by overpowering the other two modes of nature. I will say the generalized data in the majority of cases that it so happens that during the morning period, the mode of subtle goodness is most influential. If you have slept nicely for the whole night and have had necessary sleep, then when you wake up in the morning and fresh, then the mode of subtle goodness is most influential. At that time, you think that, let me sit with God a little and let me do some good work. One gets bliss at that time and one gets peace at that time. The mode of subtle goodness dominates in the morning. When nobody else has yet woken up in the house, then the mode of subtle goodness is most influential. And then when other people begin to get up and say that, bring the tea, do this, Mum, I have to go to school, so get me ready and do this, then when all of this begins, the mode of subtle goodness begins to slowly decrease, and the influence of the mode of rajas, passion, begins to increase. Therefore, one begins running around everywhere and thinks that they have to catch a bus, catch the train, reach here, reach there, go to an appointment, etc. The mode of rajas, passion, has begun, and when one has run around under the mode of rajas, passion the whole day, has become tired, comes home, then they lie on their bed and say, shh. And the mode of tamas, dullness, begins. You can see the mode of tamas, dullness, a lot during discourses. Three modes of nature come according to time. It is not as if the mode of subtle goodness only comes in the morning. Later on in the day, you can pull back at the time of the mode of subtle goodness. We are of the mode of subtle goodness between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. every morning. So why should we not make efforts to be in the mode of subtle goodness between 6 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. or between 6:30 p.m. and 7 p.m.? We should keep extending this mode of subtle goodness a little, and when we slowly keep extending it, then we can remain in the mode of subtle for 24 hours. This experiment, what Sri Krishna says in the Gita is all experiments. It's not about just speaking and becoming separated from it. Otherwise, people can learn from words. If they sit at home and read translations, then they would know what is said. That one mode of nature prevails, overpowering the other two modes of nature. If one mode of nature increases, then this means that I am able to increase it. Either one can look at it as if the modes of nature are increasing and decreasing by themselves, and one is only sitting there helplessly and becomes a means of enjoyment for three modes of nature. Or one can increase one of the three modes of nature, and one can control them. And Sri Krishna says that one has the power to do this. Therefore, this body is a machine, and one has to understand how the machine works. One should know that if they press one button, then a loud sound is made, as there is in the sound system, and if they press another button, then a soft sound is made. It is just like this, the bass and the tremble. In the same way, the modes of sattva goodness, rajas passion, and tamas dullness are inside this machine, and we should realize that when we do these certain activities, then they get a lot of peace, a lot of bliss and wisdom. God has already said in this chapter what happiness and wisdom are, the characteristics of mode of sattva goodness. Therefore, peace, happiness, and wisdom are activities of the mode of sattva goodness. If a person makes more and more efforts in order to remain in the sattva goodness mode of nature, then he keeps increasing towards the mode of sattva goodness. The mode of sattva goodness increases in him, and when the mode of sattva goodness increases in him, then the mode of rajas, passion, and tamas dullness automatically begins to decrease. What is the root? You have 100 rupees, and you have to do is divide it between your three children. There is one simple calculation way you can give each of them an equal share of the 100 rupees, so they get 33.33 each. This is a simple and straightforward calculation. I'm talking about divisions of 33.33 rupees, each roughly, because ideally we should put it all in God's temple. One way is to divide this 100 rupees in three equal divisions of 33.33 rupees each. Another route is one child can be given 50 rupees. The moment when you give one child 50 rupees, then the parts of the other two children automatically reduce. This is because you have nothing else, and therefore those two other parts are going to decrease. Out of the remaining 50, you give one child 30 rupees. and the other child 20 rupees. In the same way, how much are you asking to give to whom? I can also use another example. You have 24 hours in a day. You have to decide these 24 hours into activities of the mode of sattva, goodness, the mode of rajas, passion, and the mode of tamas, dullness. The scripture says that dharmata kama samaveva suya. Give your duty, your work, and your worldly enjoyments the same amount of priority. Dharma is an activity of the mode of sattva, goodness. Artha, earning wealth, is the mode of rajas, passion, and kam, worldly enjoyments, is the mode of tamas, dullness. The rishis say that you should give all three of them the same amount of importance. This means that since you have 24 hours in a day, give 6 hours to dharma, 6 hours to making money, 6 hours to worldly pleasures, and then sleep for 6 hours. In this way, your 24 hours will go just like that, and you will get peace in your life. We need to earn money to perform work, but we think that only 6 hours to earn money. Our employers have put us on duty for 8 hours, between 9 to 5. We have a shift of 8 hours. We cannot work for only 6 hours. We need 2 more hours. Where will we get it from? Because our day is only 24 hours. We cannot sleep 2 hours less, and we cannot cut down 2 hours of our other work. So we'll cut down 2 hours out of dharma. We say that. What are we going to do related to dharma for 6 hours? We treat dharma like the farmland of an old widow. So who's going to say anything when we take time from there? Even the 6 hours we allocate to sleeping do not go properly. The doctor tells us that we should get a minimum of 8 hours sleep at night. When we do not get enough sleep at night, then we have dark circles around our eyes. So we need 8 hours. Where will we get these 2 hours from? We cannot take them out of earning money, and we cannot take them out of worldly pleasures. We will take these 2 hours from dharma as well and sleep for 2 hours. Now 2 hours remain. Does a person perform this much dharma or not? If a person does not remain in the mode of sattva goodness for even 2 hours out of 24 hours, then we see the results of what happens in our lives. In life, if running around and the modes of rajas, passion, and tamas, dullness keep increasing, then why is it surprising we create our own sorrows? We worry and are depressed for 24 hours. This is because a fixed system has been given to us, which we have to divide equally. Some people do such that instead of performing dharma for 6 hours, they perform dharma for 8 hours, because then their lives will be wonderful. Okay, so they will have to cut out time for somewhere else, either from work, worldly pleasures, or sleep, so that the mode of rajas, passion, and tamas, dullness decrease accordingly. And somebody else cannot do this for us. We have to do them ourselves. This is because we really know what we are like. Nobody else can turn the buttons on the machine that is our body. Only we can turn them. The human being constantly keeps thinking about what she is like, and what the modes of sattva goodness, rajas, passion, and tamas, dullness are most influential in her. There is a very beautiful scripture in Vedanta called Panchamudasi, where it is written that Satike Punya Nishpate Papupa Tisha Rajase Tamase no Apuyan Kintu Oruta Yuksha Parambhave. When the mode of sattva goodness becomes most influential, then the dawn of punya, the opposite of sins, begins, and one performs punya, the opposite of sins. When one performs activities of the mode of rajas, passion, then sins are born from this, and from the mode of tamas, dullness, neither punya, the opposite of sins, nor sins arise, but life goes as an absolute waste. It is a quality of the mode of sattva goodness that one performs work that are punya, the opposite of sins. When the mode of rajas, passion, becomes most influential, then one performs sins. This happens because what is in the mode of rajas, passion is that there is a selfish interest. We say that you have taken or we have taken, and by saying this, has something not reduced somewhere? It has. This is only as a result of the mode of rajas, passion. You can also take something with the mode of sattva goodness by taking from the mode of sattva goodness. It means that the other person gives with happiness. This is the mode of sattva goodness. Ab mila so dud barabar, mangliya so pani, kichliya so kun barabar, bole gorakwani. When you just gave, then it was like getting milk. But when one asked, then it was like water. One runs around so much and loses blood that I am confused as to what I should say. One is given to you out of their own wishes, and it reached you. This is the mode of sattva goodness. One does not incur sin as a result of this. This is prasad, an oblation from the Supreme Soul. But when one asks for something and has a condition when it is finished, and the person becomes of the mode of Rajas passion, this is because if you've made a hit somewhere, then a hole has been made somewhere else. If no heap had been made, then no hole would have been made somewhere else. Otherwise, the heap would not have been able to have been made. And this is a sin. This is an uneven distribution, and when you begin to make a heap, then this means that a hole has been made somewhere, and what has happened as a consequence is that the flat land has gone and the balance that was there has gone. This is sin. There can be no other sin in the world, and from the mode of dullness, neither punya, the opposite of sins, nor sins arise, but life goes as an absolute waste in the mode of dullness. It goes as waste. One longevity gets destroyed. Until now, I've explained what happens when each of the modes, sattva goodness, rajas passion, and tamas increases or decreases. But if you want to increase any of them, how can you increase them? How can we create an abundance of any of these three modes of nature? If someone says to us that they wish to increase the mode of dullness, someone says that they wish to increase the mode of rajas passion, and someone says that they wish to increase the mode of sattva goodness, whichever mode you wish to increase, there are agents, means, causes, and reasons in order to increase the amounts of each of the modes, and there are 10 of them. The scriptures describe these in the 4th verse of the 13th chapter of the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavad, and it is said that Agamo apaha praja desha kala karma cha janmacha dhyanam mantrota samskaro asheta guna vitapa. Scriptures, water, people, places, times, actions, ways of birth, meditation, mantras, and the person's culture. These 10 are the reasons of the modes of nature that are sattva, goodness, rajas, passion, and tamas, dullness. This means that if each of the 10 of these are sattva goodness, then the mode of sattva goodness will increase in the person. If each 10 of these are the modes of rajas passion, then the mode of rajas passion will increase in a person. And each of these then are in the mode of tamas, dullness, then the mode of tamas, dullness will increase in the person. We will look at each and every one in short. The very first one is scriptures. If one has an expectation of the mode of sattva, goodness, in life, then what should the scriptures be like? They should keep the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Gita, and such influential scriptures, and the dawn of the mode of the sattva goodness will automatically come in their lives. The pure scriptures are, for example, of the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Gita, the Srimad Bhagavad, and Puranas, all of which we call the scriptures of truth. They are pure scriptures that increase the mode of sattva goodness in a person. But if a person is interested in and falls for the scriptures of tantra, rituals to achieve something, and yantra, instruments to achieve something, then such a person is in the mode of rajas, passion. The scriptures of tantra, rituals to achieve something, and yantra, instruments to achieve something, are also scriptures, but they are of the mode of rajas, passion. This is because they say that the rituals lead to this, or this instrument leads to this. Such a person is the mode of rajas, passion. Scriptures that have the mode of rajas, passion in them are abundant with such materials such as yantra, instruments to achieve something, and tantra, rituals to achieve something. On the other hand, a person of the mode of tamas, dullness, reads unclean things. This is because these are also scriptures. They do as they are told by the scriptures, and the consequences follow accordingly. If a person has a weak mind, then they will get these consequences. If a person is affected, then these consequences will not arise. A weak-minded person thinks that somebody cut a lemon in front of them then would cause me difficulties. The person falls into difficulties, but God has said in the 15th chapter of the Gita that Mame Vansho Jiva Loke Jiva Buddha Sanatana. A fragment or friction of my own self becomes a living soul eternal in the world of life. If one knows that I am a fragment of God, and if a person cuts not just one lemon in front of me, but a dozen, then nothing will happen. And this event will not make any difference to this person. But the person on the mode of tamas dullness falls into such scriptures, he only gets interest from these scriptures. This is the mode of tamas dullness. If I were to say it in simple and straightforward language, then the scriptures that make you self-defendant are scriptures of the mode of sattva goodness. The scriptures that keep giving you promises for support are the mode of rajas passion, and the scriptures that even take that support away from you are scriptures of the mode of dullness. Scriptures of the mode of dullness are those from which you cannot do anything, and from which people say that we are just beings. What can we do now? We have come here to the punishment for our sins. We must have committed so many sins. This world is like a big jailhouse, and we are like small ants in it. All of these are scriptures of the mode of dullness, because a person cannot arise after reading them, and the person spends their entire life crying. And I say it with a lot of sadness that these people who had a selfish interest in religion have given scriptures of the mode of dullness. They have finished people's minds off. They have become agents themselves by saying that if you wish to go to God, then come to me, otherwise you will not be able to go there. I will do this. I will give you a prayer bead with which to chant mantras, and only then will you be able to go there. All of these are of the mode of dullness. No matter how high a seat on which he is sitting, he is in the mode of dullness. True scriptures are such that they say, Shurvanta Vishe Amrutesya Putraha, Ayam me hasto Bhagavan, Ayam me Bhagatara. Listen, O descendants of the immortality world over. This arm of mine is God. In fact, it is greater than God, because the hands with which I will perform divine acts will enable me to attain the supreme soul. The rishis of the Vedas say this. How much radiance and splendor does this give to our lives? This is the mode of sattva goodness, and you can see it clearly, that in scriptures where people play a lot with the mode of dullness, you can see a lot of dependency and helplessness. On the other hand, one who have washed themselves in the divine water of the Vedas and Upanishads have washed themselves in the water of lions. Adinasyama Shraddha Moda Mashyam Brada Shadam Ajitasyam Sharadha Nanda Vasharadha Shradam. One gets radiance and splendor because of this. This is the mode of sattva goodness. Sri Krishna is going to say in the next verse that Sarva Dveshru Dehismin Prakasho Ubachitya. When the light of the wisdom streams forth in all the gates of the body. This is the quality of the mode of sattva goodness. What type of scriptures are you holding in your hands? A lot depends on this. A person who is innocent and completely unaware of anything that falls into their hands, life after life of his gets washed into this. This is ignorance, and society does not know about this. He holds on to whoever he bumps into first, and then the first person says that beware if you go and see somebody else. And this poor person is stuck because his whole life will now go to waste. One should read scriptures of the mode of sattva goodness. This is scriptures. The second is water. One can tell which of the three modes of nature is most influential by type of water that a person drinks. By the type of water a person drinks, eating either becomes the mode of sattva goodness, or the mode of rajas passion, or the mode of dullness. If there is holy water or water from holy places, then the dawn of the mode of sattva goodness comes to a person. You should perform an experiment of this. And I'm saying this from what people have told me. For 1 month, stay in the holy town of Bhārata in India and drink water only from the Gangaji river. Then see how much of change it brings to your nature. It makes a difference. The amount of mode of sattva goodness increases when one drinks holy water. There can also be different types of water. Where did you get the water from? What was the intention behind the person who gave you the water? The amounts of mode of nature within a person also changes because of these factors. I was once asked 2 questions at the time of giving a discourse on the 14th chapter of the Gita. The first question was that, under which of these 3 modes of nature can Arjuna Vishad Yoga, the yoga of hesitation, despondency of Arjuna, which is the first chapter of the Gita, be placed? This has a very clear answer that it is of the mode of dullness, because it is about more delusion. It is of the mode of dullness, and the mode of sattva goodness and rajas passion have been overpowered. There is a little of the mode of sattva goodness in there, and that is why Arjuna got wish to seek refuge in Sri Krishna. The mode of rajas passion is completely overpowered. I'll speak further about this question in the next verse. The second question that was asked, I do not like such questions and I completely oppose them, and it is because I oppose them that I wish to write about them, was that if in Pushdimag Srimad Vallabhacharya has said in the Sri Krishna scriptures that all holy places of pilgrimage have lost their effectiveness, then how can water from the river Gangaji impart the mode of sattva goodness? Just look at how much of a misunderstanding there is in this. Let me say that if the river Gangaji cannot impart the mode of sattva goodness, then there is no power in this world that can give a person the mode of sattva goodness. And the purity and power in the water of the river Gangaji has been proved through analysis in laboratories. There is no doubt that it has been said for thousands of years. It has also been proved in modern laboratories that none of the rivers, oceans and lakes have the cleanliness and purity of the river Gangaji. This does not just apply to those in India, but it is not in any of them world over. The durability of the water from the river Gangaji is unrivaled. If you put water from the river Gangaji in a bottle, then it will stay there for years. No other river has this strength, and I always say that two rivers have made the land of India fortunate. They are the river Ganga and the river Yamuna. Both of these rivers are extremely pure, but where is the greatness of the river Yamuna from? The greatness of the river Yamuna is from the town of Mathura, where Sri Krishna came into contact with her, and the river Yamuna goes from Mathura to reach Prayag, where she became amalgamated with the river Ganga. I'm quoting from what many great wise people have written in the scriptures when I write that prominence of that river Yamuna is only in two places, and the river Yamuna is only worshipped in two places. The first is where a relationship has been tied, which the Lord himself, Sri Krishna. Otherwise, the river Yamuna does not begin from Mathura. She comes from Yamunotri. Yamunotri is the origin of the Yamunotri, and she is worshipped in Mathura. Then in the end of the river Yamuna is worshipped where it amalgamates with the river Ganga. On the other hand, the river Ganga has created holy places of pilgrimages, and in all places where she is, from the Gangotri, where it originates, all the way to Ganga Sagar, where it merges with the sea, it is in each and every place. If you try to look at it socially, spiritually, economically, culturally, etc., no river has the amount of yogic merit that the river Ganga has in India. I have a lot of adoration, a lot of love, and a lot of feelings towards Srimad Mahaprabhu Vallabhacharya Ji. Why has he said that what he has? It is because of the influence of the Kali Yuga, age of vice, has increased, and in this, all holy places of the pilgrimage have lost their effectiveness. This means that no holiness has remained in holy places, and the people who are there or who have gone to these holy places have damaged the purity of the holy places. Srimad Mahaprabhuji has said this in this way, but one absolutely cannot interpret this as saying that the river Gangaji has no mode of sattva goodness in it. I'll repeat what I wrote before, and I will write it with a lot of self-belief, that if there is no purity in the river Gangaji, then consider that there is no purity anywhere else in the world. The river Gangaji has masses and masses of the mode of sattva goodness in it. I do not like it when a person is making wrong interpretation of or insulting a great scripture such as the Srimad Bhagavad or the Gita Ji. Many times when planning for big discourses, there are 108 Brahmins, 151 Brahmins, or 251 Brahmins who have come to the discourses having brought their versions of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita that they adore very much and study very well. There are many other people who come having pressed their books, they then go and sit in the line of Brahmins who have sat at the front. Sometimes they even bring a different scripture from the Srimad Bhagavad. Why are they sitting there? Are they sitting there because they have a lot of love towards the Bhagavad Gita? No, they know that others will come and place their scriptures there, and therefore they too wish to put their scriptures there. What can you call the scripture that person has? If Mahaprabhuji saw this vision, then he would get sad in his heart, and he would feel that it is in this state. Is this divine scripture being used so that people come to give them 10 rupees or 4 pieces of food? Is the same divine scripture that is the form of Supreme Soul and the Lord himself being used for this? His heart will be filled with sadness, and my heart gets filled with sadness when I see this. Many times I have to tell the volunteers myself to give them whatever they want today and tell them not to come from tomorrow onwards. This is because I feel that this is an insult to the scripture of the Srimad Bhagavad. The person who comes having pressed the scriptures in their hands does not himself know what he is doing. In the time of 500 years before today, Srimad Vallabhacharya Ji went to holy places, and he must have seen what we are also seeing today. I will say from my own experience that I went to the Govardhan mountain, Giriraj, and may have also gone there in Vrindavan. I have a lot of love for the Lord, so please nobody misunderstand me, because it is very easy to misunderstand any person. I know that I have a gigantic amount of bliss and adoration towards and grace from Dwardigesh, Sri Krishna, the Prince of Dwarka. But I went there and saw a vision afterthought scene, which I thought that it would have been much better if I had not gone there. This is because I had gone there with the dreams in my heart that I will give a discourse of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and I felt that my Lord held Govardhanji with his own lotus hands, so there was so much divinity in my heart. When you go there with this adoration and this love, see what is going on there, then it really makes one sad. I remember that this person was wearing a lengo cloth trousers and a suit, and had all 3 buttons on his suit open. I cannot forget that man, whoever it was there. He kept saying that, give me this, give this here, do this and do that. I was standing there quietly and I did not want to say who I was and where I was from. The 4 or 5 people with me said something, and then he completely changed his behaviour. I thought that, should we do this for this person? And this is not my experience before I went to many people. I told it to me, and at that time I thought that they may not be able to understand, whereas I was going with a lot of adoration, a lot of love. We left from there and we heard shouting behind us that, give us this, give us that. In reality, I'm saying this to you because you are my intimate ones. I've not told this story to anyone. I thought that it would have been much better if I had not gone there. Rather than that, if the picture of Bhagavad Gita, Govardhanath, Sri Krishna stayed with me, then it would have been so nice. When our dreams get shattered, then we get so hurt. This is the hurt that I suffered. You may have also suffered it. Whoever has gone there will have suffered it. And I say again that after this event happening, I have as much adoration for Giriraj, the Govardhan mountain, as I had before. This is because I know that when any person does something wrong, then the purity of the root place where it took place is not affected. This is because what perspective are we looking at it from? Yes, if it is possible, then we can make efforts in order to reduce these things. We can make efforts to explain to them. If we have time, circumstances, and energy, then we can do so. This is why I say that the river Gangaji has a lot of mode of sattva, goodness in her, and I say this from experience. Whenever I have had the chance to go to Gangaji at Haridwar, then the feeling of bliss I got when I planted Jai Gangamaya and took a dip is incomparable. During the evening period at Har Ki Peli in Haridwar, when the Arti worship where light from wick soaked in ghee, purified butter or camphor is offered to one or more deities was taking place, which was the first time when I saw the Arti during the festival of Kumbh Mela, mass pilgrimage where devotees gather at the river Ganga every 12 years. After the Arti finished, I sat in the same place for 15 minutes, and tears flowed from my eyes. Where can you bring this from? And I'm not just saying this, that this bliss can only be found at the river Gangaji. You can also come in the town of Mathuraji or during the Arti of the river Yamunaji. The third is people. By looking at what the people around a person like, one can tell if a person is of the mode of sattva, goodness, rajas, passion, or tamas, dullness. This is the very reason why satsang, holy discourses, have such a great amount of importance. The word satsang means to stay amongst people who are like-minded to you. This is when you sit with people who wish to develop their lives. When this happens, the mode of sattva goodness automatically increases in a person. I often say during my discourses, and I can also write it there, I should sit at home in peace for 2 hours between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. You should not get up to or do anything else. You should do nothing at all. Will you be able to do that? You have such nice arrangements at home. You have very nice sofas. There's a fan blowing on top of you. You have servants. If you wish to drink water, then you just tell the servant, and the servant will bring cold water from the fridge, and everything can happen. Yet, can you sit from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m.? Why then can you sit in a satsang holy discourse from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m.? At satsang holy discourses, you do not even have the facilities. The atmosphere is pure, but you do not get the facilities there. By saying that you do not get facilities are there. I'm not saying this is critically, I'm saying this for the comparison. You do not get any facilities at satsang holy discourses, yet you can sit there quietly for 2 hours The reason for this is that there is an abundance of the mode of sattva goodness there. It is satsang holy discourse. People of one thought have gathered there together. This is why they can sit there. This is people. In the same way, if you sit with people who are most influenced by the mode of Rajas passion, then you will perform such activities. And if you sit with people who are most influenced by the mode of tamas dullness, then you will perform those activities. It depends what the people around you are like. An example can be given for this. There's one occasion when I was travelling on a fast train some 20 years ago. It was going through a tunnel and was about to speed up. There was a person standing next to me by the door, and he did not know what the train was fast, so he had just run and jumped on. He managed to find a seat, so he sat down. The train went on and stopped at various places. The train soon became filled. The train did not stop at one of the stops he expected and just went past. The train sped up as it went past that stop. It did not stop at his stop either. He asked, and people told him that he is on the fast train. He was thinking of all the things he could do in his head. He probably took the slow train every day and realised that all trains slowed down as they go past any stop. He had to go to a stop. He was getting late and had important work to do. He went and stood by the door thinking that maybe if he had the chance, then he would be able to jump on the platform. At the time, the circumstances worked in his favour. The train came to the next stop and slowed down as the red signal came on. But perhaps the circumstances were not fully right for him, because the signals changed and the train started moving. The same train that was slowing down further and further began to catch speed. As soon as the train started speeding, he grabbed his bag and jumped onto the platform from the moving train. If you jump out of a moving train, then you have to run with it on the platform, otherwise you would fall. He was running with the train. The carriage from which he jumped off went ahead, but the people in the carriage behind thought he had fallen off the train, and so they grabbed his arms and pulled him back onto the train. By that time, the platform had finished as the train sped past. The person said that, "Oh, clever person, I want to get off at this stop." You got a lot of fun from hearing this story, right? This same thing happens in our lives. When we are amongst people of the mode of Rajas passion, then you will constantly of the mode of Rajas passion, constantly laboriously and constantly active thinking about work. When you look at other people, then you will think that the first person is doing work, the second person is doing this, the third person is doing this, the fourth person has 2 bedrooms, the fifth person has 3 bedrooms, the sixth person has done 4 bedrooms, and we have been left behind. Do we ever think that we have done too much running around and so we should just stop here and sit in peace? When we try to climb from this carriage, the people in the carriage behind us pick us up and take us back on that train for 10 more years. When one retired from his job, then he thought that I would perform these activities with a lot of peace. Another person will say that you have retired this, come with us. When he finally retired, so why should he go to this other person? This is the mode of Rajas passion. This is what happens when a person stays with the people of the mode of passion. This will be the consequence. And one remains with people of the mode of tamas dullness, then they become the mode of tamas dullness. When people listen to holy discourses with a lot of peace and concentration, then you look very good. They have a lot of mode of sattva goodness in them. But let us say that I do not finish the discourse at 7 p.m. when it was scheduled to finish, and it turns 7:15, 7:30, 8 p.m. Then it will not matter to me, because what other business do I have? It turns 8:30 p.m, then 9 p.m. One person begins to feel sleepy, one person falls sleepy, then a second person falls sleepy, then a third person falls sleepy, fourth person falls sleepy. The contagious sleep spreads. This is the mode of tamas dullness. When a person stays among the mode of tamas dullness, then the person becomes like them. If a person goes to now call in an alcohol in, no matter if he is drinking only soft drinks or milk, then even if he drinks milk on the first day, he will feel on the second day that all these people are enjoying this so much. Let me go and see. Even small children drink milk. Kajal ki kotri mein aise hi jatam karo, kajal ka daag lagi hi lage. Put such a demonstration in your eye makeup that the marks of this makeup definitely brush on everyone. If a person stays amongst the mode of tamas dullness, then this attitude will become to the person. This is people, and therefore it's very essential among whom you stay with. In order to gain status in society, people say that they wish to live in an area with prosperous neighbourhoods, so that they will get prestige. In the field of spirituality, it is just as important amongst whom you stay with. If you stay amongst people of the mode of sattva goodness, then you will become the mode of sattva goodness. If you stay amongst the people of the mode of rajas passion, then you will become the mode of rajas passion. And if you stay amongst the people of the mode of dullness, tamas, then you will become the mode of tamas dullness. They said become. The fourth factor is desh. This means a place and not countries like India, Pakistan, or America. There are, of course, differences amongst these countries, and those who travel everywhere will know how much change is when they change countries. But rather than this, what is said here in the Srimad Bhagavatam and what Sri Krishna is trying to show here is that a lot depends on the place where you are. In the 11th verse of the 6th chapter of the Gita, God says, while describing how one should perform dhyan, meditation, Shuchau deshe pratishtavya, Sriram asanam atmana. He should set in a clean place his firm seat, neither too high nor too low. Sri Krishna says that the place where one performs dhyan meditation should be pure. A temple certainly needs to be clean, but it also needs to be pure. This is because this is its plus value. In our scriptures, one thing is very important, that we think very subtly about life. And we've accepted science, but we do not consider science to be that which someone puts on the table and becomes successful. The meaning of Vignan, science, is special with wisdom, and perhaps we went even further than Vignan, science, that we reach the level of Jnana, wisdom, and experience. There are some things are pure experiences that you cannot put them in the table and prove them, yet they are there. You have to experience it. Physicists say that I will only believe those things that I can see on the table, otherwise I will not believe it. That is why so many people say that we do not believe in God. Show us, ask God on this table and say that this is God. Only then will we believe in God, otherwise we will not believe in God. This way of thinking has even arisen in our culture, such as the Garvik school of thought. They were material scientists, and yet we call them rishis. It is an opinion, but the root thought of Sanatana Dharma and the Vedic rishis is that if one says that only things that we can see with our eyes is true, is childishness. There are many things that one cannot see with their eyes, and yet they are there, and not only that, but they are affecting us. An example of this is love. Can we see love with our eyes? If someone tells us to take out love and put on the table so that there is 2 liters of love, half a kilogram of love, black love, purple love, red love, or yellow love, then we would not be able to see it. And yet we all have the experience of love. We have the experience of the mother's love, the father's love, the brother's love, the sister's love, the love of a friend, the love of a child, the love of a guru, the love of a pupil. We have experienced these. It is an experience. In the same way, when we enter into subtle scriptures, then the Indian rishis have the entire science of vibrations. Each and every land has its own vibration. That is why we say in simple language that something is shukkanvanti, fortunate land. A certain type of land or another type of land. If you go to certain countries, certain areas and certain places, then you will get those types of vibrations. If you sit in a temple and the temple is clean, beautiful and pure, then automatically the dawn of the mode of sattva goodness will arise and some of your thoughts will calm down. This is the influence of the place. If you go to certain places and you will immediately feel that you have to do a certain type of work, then this is influence of the mode of rajas passion. If one goes to certain places, then they will certainly become mode of tamas dullness. If you go to the market, then the mode of rajas passion will increase. And if you go to certain wrong places, then there is only the mode of tamas dullness there and nothing else. Even in one's house, there can be more of different modes of nature in different rooms. A person who is sensitive will understand this. I study all of this a lot. Whenever there is a Poti Yatra, opening procession, where the divine scriptures is carried on one's head, during Srimad Bhagavad and Ramayana discourses, then when the divine scriptures is taken into the house where I stay, and everybody asks me to go into each and every room. When I go, then I see that there are different vibrations in each and every room. If there is a room belonging to an elderly people, then they have one type of vibration. If there is a room belonging to people of middle age, then they have another type of vibration. And if there is a room belonging to children, then they also have different types of vibration. These are vibrations, and this is why if one wishes to increase the mode of sattva goodness in them, then they should stay in places of the mode of sattva goodness and countries of the mode of sattva goodness. If one wishes to increase the mode of rajas passion in them, then they should stay in places of the mode of rajas passion and countries of the mode of rajas passion. And if one wishes to increase the mode of tamas dullness in them, then they should stay in places of the mode of tamas dullness and countries of the modes of tamas dullness. Each and every place has this influence. If there is a holy place, for example, when you have gone to the bank of a holy river, then the mode of sattva goodness which automatically increases in you. If you go to places of nature, then the mode of sattva goodness will automatically increase in you. Why did the rishis go to the jungle? Was the material world and not good? No, it was good, but if one wishes to increase the amount of mode of sattva goodness in them, then the propitious atmosphere required for this was not where one would live in society. That is why they went to the jungles. Trees are of the mode of sattva goodness. Youth can never find the mode of tamas dullness in a tree. A clean and delicate flower is the mode of sattva goodness. And when you stay in companionship with such nature of the mode of sattva goodness and surround yourself with such nature of the mode of sattva goodness, then you will get their vibrations. If you stay with a good person, then you will get good vibrations. If you stay with a bad person, then you will get bad vibrations. I often say that if you're traveling on the train or on the bus, then if some people come and sit next to you, then you feel as if you wish to speak to them. You do not know them and you've not heard anything about them. You feel like speaking to them, and there are some people who, when they come to sit next to you, then you think about when they will get up, otherwise you would get up. It feels like this: the poor person has not done anything to you, but it's just that vibration do not match. One should remain amongst the mode of sattva goodness. This is the place. Another factor is time, Brahma Muhurta. Approximately 1.5 hours before sunrise is a time of the mode of and tamas dullness have become calm, or new such vibrations have not yet manifested. Therefore, time has this effect. That is why the times of Sandhya, twilight, are given a lot of importance in our scriptures. There are 3 Sandhyas: twilight in a day, Prata Sandhya, the end of the night and the beginning of the day, Madhyana Sandhya, noon, and Sayam Sandhya, the end of the day and the beginning of the night. These are unique times. A person loses experience of these because he is sleeping at the time of the Prata Sandhya, the end of the night and the beginning of the day, and hanging around somewhere at the time of Sayam Sandhya, the end of the day and the beginning of the night, either in a car somewhere or shopping. In reality, this urban life has a lot of difficulties. Urban life has a lot of problems. It keeps creating problems. So many poets have shown their complaints towards the cultures of towns. People become separated from nature. This is time. It is a lot of importance. Therefore, the more you awake during times of the mode of sattva goodness, then the mode of sattva goodness will increase in you. Therefore, you can do such that during times of the mode of tamas dullness, you can go to sleep at those times. If you can only perform activities of the mode of tamas dullness during times of the mode of tamas dullness, then you are matching. And beginning a very beautiful subject. Again, you are aligning yourself with the natural forces. We say that certain times are times of tamas dullness. 2 hours after sunset is when the time of the mode of tamas dullness begins. Therefore, immediately at that time, one should go to sleep. If one performs activities of the mode of tamas dullness during times of the mode of tamas dullness, then they will automatically get propitiousness. One will immediately get sleep if they have formed the habit of it. They will get rest and they will be able to do whatever they want during that time. What we do is we perform activities of the mode of tamas dullness during times of the mode of sattva goodness. The time of Brahma Muhurta, approximately 1.5 hours before sunrise in the morning, is the time of the mode of sattva goodness, but people perform activities of the mode of tamas dullness and sleeping during that time. Therefore, we are constantly in conflict with nature, and how can a person who is in conflict with nature attain peace? And people complain that they do not know. The reason why they do not know is that they have gone into conflict with nature. One has become opposed to natural forces. Therefore, one does not get the energy that they should have got from the nature, and one's energy gets wasted in conflict with those vibrations. You cannot win, and therefore you suffer. The right activity should be performed at the right time, just like one should perform the right activities during the night, during the right arts of the day. In the same way, life should be divided. In life, childhood is the time of the mode of sattva goodness. The ages of 25 to 50 are a time of the mode of rajas passion. When one prastha, the age of 50 to 75, samyashram, the ages of 75 and above, come, then again the mode of sattva goodness should increase. The poet Guru Kalidas wrote something very nice about the Raghuvansh. The lineage of the Raghus were alike. It comes at the beginning of Raghuvansh. Shaishrabhya asta vidnam, yovana vishay nishaynam, vadake muni prutikanam, yoge nande tanu yajan, raghunand anunam bhakshye. During their childhood, they would accumulate knowledge. Then during their early adult life, they would enjoy material pleasures. From the middle point of their lives, they would start giving back to society. Then at the end of their lives, they would leave their bodies after having attained union with God. Such were the Raghuvansh. They performed the right activities at the right times in their lives. During childhood, up to the age of 25, where it is a stage of life of brahmacharya ashram, there should be only the mode of sattva goodness, because one has to build the foundations of the life by attaining Jnana, wisdom. Jnana, wisdom, is the mode of sattva goodness. Childhood is the time to increase the amount of mode of sattva goodness. From the ages of 25 or 26 to 50, one can enjoy the pleasures of the material world and nobody is denying these. At that time, you can let the mode of passion, rajas, increase, and one can also use the mode of tamas, dullness during this time. Why would they not be able to do this? When one becomes the age of 51, then they should slowly begin turning once again towards the mode of sattva goodness. And if it so happens, then one will be able to leave the bodies after having attained yoga, union with God. Note that it is not said that they died, but through yoga, the power of yoga, they left their bodies by giving up their bodies, just like a snake leaves behind its old skin. When life is divided in this way, then one gets bliss in life. Why does this bliss in life does not remain today? Because when people turn 12 to 13, then the brahmacharya ashram childhood stage of life when one accumulates wisdom finishes, because the youth constantly thinks that only TV, film, satellite television and cable television are his, and spends his time on the material world, worldly pleasures and worldly objects. The young child becomes brainwashed, and the young child decides only one thing in life, that enjoyments in life are only there in running around a tree. He thinks that this is the only aim in life. In reality, marriage and grashrasham, household stage of life, will begin when the youth turns 24 or 25, but the mental material world begins from the ages of 13 or 14. This grashrasham, household stage of life, has begun because the mode of sattva goodness has left them. People have become so clever, and many times youngsters ask questions that make me think, I want to give them the answer. But when I sit alone in silence, then I think that when I was 12 years of age, then I did not think of such questions. I did not have so much cleverness at that age. And today's children of the age of 12 or 13 ask these questions. And can you call this development? They've become sharp, they've become clever, and exposure has increased. As a result of this, there are difficulties. The right activity should be performed at the right times. The next factor is karma actions. If a person performing actions of the mode of sattva goodness, then the mode of sattva goodness automatically manifests from them. If a person keeps performing actions of the mode of rajas passion, then the mode of rajas passion automatically manifests from them. And if a person keeps performing action of the mode of tamas, dullness, then the mode of tamas, dullness automatically manifests from him. One should perform actions that are nitya, eternal. The next factor is birth. This is the birth that has already happened to us. This depends on how the birth took place and when the birth took place. From these factors, one will be able to tell whether the person will become of the mode of sattva goodness, rajas passion, or tamas dullness. It's a very important factor, but we should let one thing go, which is the belief that when our birth took place, then we did not know anything, we had no control and we had no rights. This is because when we speak about spirituality, then we realize that we ourselves decided this because our birth is determined by the karma, actions that we performed. But if we forget all of that and just think about the life that we currently have, then this birth, where we have been born from our mothers, when it has already happened. then what does it mean that here, where it says that the amount of the different modes of nature in a person are determined by birth? Does this mean that once one is born, then it is over and there is no chance of changing? So that if a person is born in the mode of sattva goodness, then he remains the mode of sattva goodness. And if a person is born in the mode of rajas passion, then he remains of the mode of rajas passion? No. The scripture says that there is also another birth. There is one birth where the mother and father give birth to this body, and there is another birth that we get from a guru. When a pupil seeks a refuge in a guru and becomes initiated, then the pupil becomes dvij, twice born, as he is born once again. The word dvij, twice born, is used, and Brahmins, Kshatriyas, warriors, Vaishyas, merchants, etc. are all dvij, twice born. This is the second birth. When the son of a Brahmin gets a janoi, second grade, then he becomes dvij, twice born. Attaining initiation from a guru is becoming twice born. If one has attained initiation from a Sadguru, a pure and divine Guru, and has become a pupil of a person who is of the mode of sattva goodness, then the amount of sattva goodness in a person will increase. He can also be of the mode of rajas passion. He can have jnana, wisdom, and everything can yet the mode of rajas passion. If this is the case, then the pupil will become the mode of rajas passion. And if he is of the mode of tamas, dullness, then the pupil who is initiated will become of the mode of tamas, dullness. This is what birth means. The next factor is dhyana, meditation. Who does one perform dhyana meditation on? In Sanskrit, there is Geeta Brahmanyan. A cockroach keeps biting a worm every 15 minutes or half an hour. The worm gets a lot of pain. After the cockroach bites the worm 4 or 5 times, then the worm keeps thinking, soon the cockroach will come and soon the cockroach will bite me. Soon the cockroach will come and sit and the cockroach will bite me. Soon the cockroach will come and soon the cockroach will bite me. And after thinking about the cockroach over and over again, the worm itself becomes a cockroach. Whoever we meditate on, we become like them. Who do we meditate on? Who are our ideals? When we perform meditation, and then we should meditate on an ideal. This is because it is in the nature of the mind that consciously and subconsciously the mind picks up the qualities of those who we meditate on. The mind keeps picking them up. This is the nature of the mind. Whether you meditate on, you will automatically become like them. Psychologists have now reached that state where they have discovered that whoever a person meditates on, their behavior will become like them. At the same time, these signs start to come to their faces. They see that if there is a man and a woman, and they both love each other very much, have lived together as husband and wife for 40 years, and with a lot of love in the right way, and not just as husband and wife, then both of their faces will begin to look more and more similar to each other. There will be some imprints of the husband's face onto the wife's face, and some effects of the wife's face onto the husband's face. It feels as if the eyes are almost beginning to become identical. Their ways of laughing begin to become similar to each other. How did this happen? And psychologists have proved that one begins to become like the other person who they love. One becomes like the person on whom they meditate. Therefore, if the individual soul has been meditating on the Supreme Soul for birth after birth, and then slowly and slowly, will the individual soul not become like the Supreme Soul? Nar apne karanam kare to nar ka narayan ho jaye. If a person decides and acts, then he becomes like God. We should constantly think about who our ideals are. The mind keeps picking this up. In ancient times, what happened was that the rishis were the ideals. That is why the stories that came in the Vedas are on the majority about rishis. This is because the rishis, who are the gnani, the wise, were the ideals of society. Then the times changed. Stories of the kings began to be told. This is because the kings became the ideals of society. The kings that attacked and had fought wars became the ideals, and poems and songs were made of them. And this was a good thing. Therefore, the whole age of attacking began. This ran for a very long time. I'm talking about the broad divisions in the periods in Indian history that you see. Thereafter, the freedom struggle began, and the struggle for independence began. The freedom fighters and the politicians then became our ideals. If Gandhiji wore a loincloth, then with him, thousands of people would wear a loincloth. If Nehru wore a pointed hat, then the hat of Nehru would become a fashion item. This is because they were the ideals of the heroes of society. Whatever they did, people would be ready to do, saying, if Jawaharlal Nehru placed a rose on his shirt, then many people would place a rose on their shirts. It was the style. People would imitate them. This is heroism, and it is in the nature of human beings that they have to think about some person or the other, and they have to follow some person or the other. Who was the ideal? Who were people following? When the freedom struggle finished and India got its independence, then all these politicians went and society changed. Then the time came in the middle when the sports players became ideals, the football players, the cricketers, and other sport players became our ideals. When you went to college as our hostel, then in the ruins of these hostels, there would be photos of the sports players. These were the ideals. Until then it was fine, but in the last 30 years, who have become the ideals of society? Those who dance like crazy? Are these our ideals? Because these are the ideals we are seeing, what the consequences are. The whole illumination of society has changed. Siemens photos are in people's rooms, and see who people behave like. Today in society, what do people think about? What do people in society keep thinking about constantly? The ideals are wrong, and that is why we are seeing consequences in society. The poet has said this very nicely. Ave to khas ki darpantaya yuvan ne ekbar arpan. Fak chorine and charia tore sanjar pakiche. Yuvan nichar rakware shir parvar na kucha. Fak najuk page janjar taro janjar te pakiche. When you walk behind two youths, then you will not be able to tell who is the boy and who is the girl, because both have the same hair. Boys have grown their hair longer and girls have cut their hair shorter, therefore both have become the same. And in the last few decades, boys have begun to wear earrings and jewelry. Now boys just have to wear anklets near their feet and they will be completely similar. If boys wear anklets, then boys and girls will be completely similar. Who are our ideals? So the ideal, so the person is going to be. Meditation is in the meaning. Give great meditation to young children. Give them a goal. The word dhya, goal, comes from the word dhyan, meditation. Whoever you perform dhyan meditation of is the dhya, goal. This means that wherever you have to reach the goal, children should focus on this from a young age. If we cannot give our children anything else, then it does not matter. We should certainly give them a goal. We should create a hero for them from childhood and say that, child, this is your ideal and you have to become like this. Today we are all seeing in society that there is a lack of ideals. Children do not know who to become like. This is because the people who are idolized have failed in their duties. Therefore, children just pick up an ideal from wherever they can find one. If they find an ideal from the television screens, then they pick up an ideal from the television screen. While gathering toys from school or college, they have a toy of a He-Man, Superman or Spider-Man, and these feel like they're ideals to him. And we are seeing from the newspaper articles that children are jumping out of windows and setting things on fire. We read these in the newspaper. The reason for this is that whoever you make an ideal, your behaviour will become like them. Society is suffering the bad consequences, and despite this awareness is not coming. We read things in the newspaper and talk about it by saying that the poor child saw an advertisement in the television, went to do that and died. Fine, the poor child in reality became like that, but behind that child, millions of other children are dying mentally. So who's thinking about those children? This does not come in the form of newspapers. The child's mind just gets finished. If there is meditation of a goal, of the mode of subtle goodness, then one's life will become the mode of subtle goodness. If the goal is of the mode of righteous passion, then one's life will become the mode of righteous passion. And if the goal is of the mode of dullness, then one's life will become the mode of dullness. The next factor is mantra. What mantra should you have? There are very clear instructions in the scriptures that the Omkar is a complete mantra. If the mantra does not have the Omkar, then the ancient scriptures do not give the mantra the qualification of a complete mantra. You cannot say that the mantra is of the mode of subtle goodness. Om is the sound that was attained as a consequence, assimilation and culmination of thousands of years of thinking by Indian rishis and scriptures. And I am not just talking about in India, but each and every religion of the world aspects the Omkar. The religions of the Buddhism and Jainism are our brothers. They are Sanatana Dharma. This is because Lord Mahavir never ever thought about establishing a different religious sect. And Lord Buddha never even thought about establishing a different religious sect. They are within Sanatana Dharma. Lord Buddha used the word Arya, one of the noble thoughts, again and again in the scriptures. Mahavir Swami himself used the word Arya, one of noble thoughts, again and again in the Jain Agama, which are the Jain scriptures. They say that one who is in Arya, one of the noble thoughts, does not do this. One who is an Arya, one of noble thoughts, does this. Read the scriptures, they are worth reading. This is the culture of Arya, one of the noble thoughts, and all is clearly written in the Buddhist and Jain scriptures. There is the Navkar mantra in Jainism. Om Namo Arbitam Ram, Om Namo Siddharam, Om Namo Aryanyanam. I bow down to Arihanta, I bow down to Siddha, and I bow down to Acharya. I really have to have so much adoration for this Buddha rejected. I really have so much adoration for this. Buddha rejected the notion of the soul and said, Anatta, not self. Both Mahavir and Buddha rejected the notion of idol worship, but they did not reject the notion of Om. Om remained in Buddhism and Om also remained in Jainism. This is because they realized how much of a necessary thing this is and how much of a peak state this is. In Islam, the word Amin is used. What is Amin? It is Om. It is a slightly amended form of Om. If you go even further into Europe, where Judaism and Christianity arose, there are the words used to describe what the Supreme Soul and God are like. Omnipresent, pronounced omnipresent. Omnipotent, pronounced omnipotent. Omniscient, pronounced omniscient. All of these words have Om in them. These are all mantras. Is that of the mode of sattva, goodness. There are also mantras that are the mode of rajas, passion, and there are some mantras is that mode of tamas, dharmas. This is mantra. The next factor is samskar. What type of upbringing has there been? What is samskar? It means to make it better and better and better. In Indian culture, there are 16 moments of samskar. During each and every step of life, we have samskar. It begins from birth. The 16 samskars are Gabadana, putting the seed into the womb. Umasvana, prays for the child while it is in the womb. Simanan Donayana, prays for the protection of the mother during the pregnancy. Jatakarman, prays for the intellect of the child after its birth. Namakarana, naming ceremony of the child. Nishikramana, taking the child outside for the first time. Anaprashana, the first time the child eats solid food. Chudakarana, cutting the child's hair for the first time. Karnaveda, piercing the ears. Vidyaramba, commencement of studies. Upanayana, wearing of the sacred thread. Graysharta, learning of the Vedas and Upanishads. Geshanta, first shave of a boy, or Ritusudi, first menstruation of a girl. Samavatana, end of formal education. Vivaya, marriage, and Agni, cremation rites. And each and every person had the right to all 16 of these sanskars, both men and also women. Both men and women had the right to wear the janai, sacred thread. When we read the Rude scriptures, then our eyes open so much. Women during the time of the Vedas undertook the sanskar of Panya, wearing the sacred thread. Each and every person had the right to wear the janai, sacred thread. These are samskar. When one became all the right age, then marriage was a samskar. Getting married was never regarded as doing something wrong. In fact, they were doing something very good, and therefore it was a samskar. In each and every place in the world, marriage is rejected, and the funny thing is that motherhood is taken upon with pride. How can one have pride on motherhood but reject marriage? They are samskar. Putting the seed into the womb is a samskar. Ampum savana, prayers for the child while it is in the womb, is a samskar. And when women become pregnant for the first time, then there is Simanadonaya, prayers for the protection of the mother during the pregnancy. Then it comes back once again to Jatakarman, prays for the intellect of the child after its birth, which is also a samskar. And after doing all of this, there is Agni samskars, cremation rites, right at the end. There are samskar in each and every important step of life. From this, one can tell whether a person is of the mode of sattva, goodness, rajas, passion, or tamas, dullness. If we give the word samskar a very broad meaning, when it means the imprints that keep falling on our minds as a result of the circumstances around us, This is because the mind is like a mirror. The mirror leaves something because it shows what is opposite, and then it leaves it there, whereas the mind is like a photographic plate that keeps holding on to things immediately. Whatever events take place, whatever circumstances happen, and whatever is spoken is held onto by the mind, and all of this data is gathered inside us. From the data that is being gathered, one can tell whether a person is of the mode of sattva, goodness, rajas, passion, or tamas, dullness. Family, food, and drink all fall within the definition of samskar. I'm not going to write about these in detail now because God will speak about all of these things in the 17th chapter. All of these things will come there. Family affects a person. If a mother and father are of the mode of sattva, goodness, then the possibility of the child becoming of the mode of sattva, goodness increases a lot. Now, how can we tell which mode of nature has increased at which time? God has told us that each of these three modes of nature increase in. How can we tell each of these modes of sattva, goodness, rajas, passion, or tamas, dullness have increased in us? If we can tell about another person, then we can tell what we should know in relation to ourselves. How can we realize which mode of nature has increased? God shows this in the next three verses, that are the 11th, 12th, and 13th verses.